Does your WordPress website use jQuery? Is that because of your forms? You know, for years, I've had a thing about not using jQuery. As a matter of fact, the whole internet's had a thing about not using jQuery because it slows down your websites. However, it's been very hard to find a form builder that doesn't depend on jQuery until now. Kadence Blocks has an amazing form builder that actually doesn't use jQuery. It's all vanilla JavaScript, which means if you're using Kadence Blocks, you should be using Kadence Forms. Let me show you how to get the most out of your Kadence Forms with Kadence Blocks in this video. You know, WordPress has a great array of different form tools. Gravity Forms, Fluent Forms are two that I've used regularly, as well as WP Forms. They all have one issue, and that is that all of these form building tools load a dependency called jQuery. jQuery is a JavaScript library, and it used to solve a lot of problems for us. However, in recent years, it causes a big issue, and that issue is that it slows down your pages. Not just because of the size of the JavaScript, it's only 35 kilobytes, but it's the way it executes. It makes your pages feel slow. In 2020, I wrote an article about this, why jQuery is bad and what you can do about it. In that article, we really found out how much jQuery and other loads of JavaScript can slow down your pages. So it's important to make sure that you can optimize every step of the way when it comes to your WordPress website. And since 2020, I've been searching for a WordPress form building tool that doesn't use jQuery. And recently, I found one, and that was with Kadence Blocks. You know, I've been using Kadence Blocks as my go-to page builder for a while. And when I saw the form builder tool starting to become more powerful, I knew I had to investigate. When I took a look at it, I found that it doesn't load jQuery, that the forms loaded really fast, and that was going to give me a big advantage in delivering fast websites, both myself and my end clients. Now, Kadence Blocks has two form tools inside of it. There's the simple form and the advanced form. In this video, we're going to take a look at both of those form builders and how they work. The simple form is, as it says, a simple form. It's the initial form that you get, and you even get that with Kadence free. And that is really great for a simple contact form with a few extra fields. You can customize them. You'll see that in the video. Advanced forms on the other side, it has much more different types of customizations, things like attachments, fancy fields that you can use on it. And it has just that little bit more power, which is why it's the advanced form set. The great thing about these form tools is they don't add a whole lot of weight to your page load. I've tested them and I found that I get more page load time from adding something like Google Analytics than just using the Kadence Forms. As a matter of fact, I was only getting 1 point change when it came to page speed by adding on the Kadence Forms. So let's jump on into this video and we'll see how this works. Now, because this is a long video, just keep in mind that below we have chapter markers, and these chapter markers allow you to jump to different segments within the video quickly. So if you're revisiting this video, you want to jump somewhere, or you're just watching it for the first time and want to see what's coming up, take a look at those chapter markers. To make use of this tutorial, please remember that we are using WordPress and we're using Kadence Blocks. You don't have to use Kadence Theme to be able to follow along with this, but I do show a couple of features within Kadence Theme as we go through. So keep in mind, I personally am using Kadence Theme with Kadence Blocks, so you'll get the best out of it doing that, but you do need to have WordPress and at the minimum, the Kadence Block library installed. Okay, let's get started with the screencast. Let's jump on and we'll go through the basic contact form to get started. Okay, so let's go ahead and add our first contact form. So I've got a contact page here, and where this blue area is, I'm going to insert a form there. So the first thing is to edit the page. From here, we scroll down and go to that block area and click the Add Block button. From there, we can see I've got form. If you don't have it, just type form like that, and we're after the form block. Click that, and immediately we have our form block added. From here, you can see that we have three fields: name, email message, and a submit button. Over at the side, we have all our form controls in the right-hand sidebar. Within here, you can see that the highlight of my individual fields doesn't always reflect the general controls over at the sidebar. The sidebar here, for example, email settings, you can see that I've highlighted email, and let's say that I put your email there, and the your email on this side updates, but I've been highlighting the name field. So that's something to keep an eye on. With this blue area here, this is simply for sorting items and giving you a visual reference, but all of the controls will be over in the sidebar. The same goes for the styling tab. Field styles and how big you want your font, line height, input size, input colors, all of that are standardized across all fields. Same as label styles, they're standardized, and we do have some advanced label settings down here for the letter case, etc. All of that styling, along with the submit button, is global for the form. You can't sort of change individual fields, it's a global styling. In the advanced area, you can set margins for the entire form. You can align field labels with the submit alignment by turning that on and off. So if I align the submit to the center or to the right instead of the left, you can do that. We also have some block defaults. So once you've finished off doing your styling, you would say, I'm going to save this as a block default. And then every time you insert your contact form, it takes on those defaults. Very handy thing to do. Animation on scroll is available, so you can fade it in or make it shake or something like that to bring attention to the form. And of course, you've got your additional CSS values. So that's everything when it comes to field styles and things like that. Under general is where we are controlling the functionality of each field and the number of fields. So let's take a look at this name field, and that's highlighted. So if I click on this item here, I duplicate the field just like that. And then I can remove the field with the X. So let's click one field again, duplicate and remove. Let's duplicate this out now, the name field. So now you'll see in the sidebar, I have two name settings. This is these two fields. We'll move to the second name settings now and put in a different label. I'm just going to put company for now. And we can see that that's added company. Use a placeholder. We can see that that fills in right there. Help text. Just like that. So we can see as well that we've got default autofills. So I can put in organization just there. And this means that if somebody has set up, WooCommerce or something like that, that would fill out automatically. If I turn on the required field, the little asterisk comes up as well. So that's how all of that works. Let's click update now, and we're going to take a look at what we've got so far with this form. So I click view page, and there we go. Here we've got our name, company, email, and message. Now with this particular form, I want to make sure that people have name and company, but then I'm going to add a couple of other fields to this so that we can see what types of fields are available within the simple form. All right, so we're back in the editor. And we're going to add an extra field. So if I click add field settings, we can see that we have this field at the bottom, and then I'm going to move that up. So here I've got name, I've got the email down here, so we're going to group these up a little bit. So move that down to there, and I'm going to move email up here. Name, we'll go over to the sidebar now, make sure that's required. Now here's one of the things that can be quite confusing. If I click down on a field label, I have to make sure that this is called field 4 settings. There's nothing on this to indicate that it's field 4, but you just have to sort of count down. I've got my first, second, third, fourth field, so field 4 is there. The other thing as well that I find a little bit confusing is because I've got a field called message. I've got message settings twice. The second lot of message settings is for my success messages and messages that are given from this form. They're not the message field. So sometimes it can look a little bit confusing. So one of the things that I do with this default form is we're going to change message to say your message. And now that field is called your message. So that's the message that somebody's sending to the business. So let me also put some details down here in the help text, and I'll just say, please add as much information as possible for your inquiry. There we go. So now I've got something a little bit better there. I've got to make sure I explicitly go up to my field for setting types. And then I'm just going to say service area. And we're going to put in the help text, what type of service are you interested in? fix that spelling up a little bit. All right, so now I've got that there, but I want to change this field type. So there's a number of field types that we have within this simple forms. You have text, email, text area. We're already using those three. Then we have an accept. We'll add an accept a little bit later. That's like a terms and conditions acceptance. I have a select. So that's a drop down. We have a telephone field. This has a validator in it for a valid telephone number. Checkboxes, a radio, and a hidden field. So a hidden field might be used to pre-populate, for example, or to put some sort of value in a form. So let's take a look at the select. We're going to use a select here because this is a service area. And you'll see that the label remains and my help text remains, but I don't have any options yet. So let's just say I've got website design. We'll do SEO, local SEO, and then we'll do content sponsorship, and we'll just say WordPress developer services. Okay, and then other. All right, so now we've got all these different things in the service area. I want to make that required. So field error message when required. So it just says service area is required. I could change this so it says something more. But that all looks pretty good to me. Now I'm going to add another field, and this field down here, the field 6 now, is going to be accept. And then we're going to say required, show policy link. So then you can put in a link to your privacy policy page. All right. So let's just say privacy there. So I've got a privacy policy. I'm going to start it as checked, and then we're just going to say accept privacy policy, just like that. There we go. Okay. So that's the accept field, and you can see because of the way that that field is done, I've got things like the link to the privacy policy page. Really handy. So let's click update now. And we can see that we've done a much more complex form. So let's view it and see what it looks like. Yeah, it's looking great. So what I want to now do is just customize this submit button. And we're going to check it in dark mode as well, see how that works. So we go back into editing the page. We're going to take a look at our submission and make sure that we've got some spam protection as well. So first of all, in the submit, I'm just going to say send your message. Like that. Okay, so why don't we just say, that's good, I'm happy with that. Send your message, that's good. Okay, so from there, within here, we want to add the Google reCAPTCHA. So at the moment, I've got a basic spam check, but I want to make sure that I've got reCAPTCHA enabled. So in the sidebar, we say enable reCAPTCHA. Now, I like the V3 because it's invisible. It doesn't make you fill anything out unless it looks like you're spammy. And within here, we have this link that says get keys, another one that says get help, and another one that says language codes. The language codes is a list of languages to be able to put in the language here. And you can see that I've got a site key and secret key already in here. To do that, I simply clicked on the Get Keys link in the sidebar there, and then it went here to my Google reCAPTCHA. I went through the setup by clicking on the Create button over here. I went through all the details, added the local domain because I'm working on my local at the moment. This is a temporary key that I'm using just for this tutorial, and clicked submit, and then the keys were available in this kind of setup. So I copied those site keys, pasted them in, and now I have a Google CAPTCHA. So click save there, and now the Google CAPTCHA is enabled. Update the page. And after updating, we will view the page. So now it doesn't look like anything's changed apart from the send your message. But if I draw your eye over to the side here, we have the protected by reCAPTCHA link. So that's all looking really good. Now what I want to do is turn on dark mode and see what that looks like. And I can see here that everything's looking pretty good. My send your message kind of looks a bit funny though, because when I'm here, the font looks, I think it can look better if it's bolded font. The blue's okay, but when I go onto this one, I guess that's all right. But I think we can make a mild adjustment there. So let's go ahead and click Edit Page. And then we're going to go to the Send Your Message here. I'm going to highlight that text, and I want that to be bolded. And then in the Style area, I want to have a look at my Submit Styles. And on the Submit Style, my text color is white, and my button background is going to be the darker blue. All right. And then on hover, I'm still going to have white text, but my hover background is going to be the brighter blue, just like that. And that's going to give me everything the way that I'd like it. So that's all okay. I don't have to do anything else. So all I've done is switch those colors over. Click Update. So now I've got a bolder font, and everything else looks like it's my default button settings. So I'll view the page, and I'm still in dark mode. And now we can see that even though I haven't selected that color because it's the matchup on the dark mode, we can see how that's changed. And I think that's quite good. What I like about it is now when I hover over the box, where I've got my highlight, and then I highlight the button, I'm using the same highlight color. I quite like that. And the Send Your Message being a kind of greeny color is quite good. We'll go back to the light color, and yeah, now the button highlights a bit more as it comes up. Instead of going from light to dark, it's going from dark to light colors and raising up in the light mode. So I'm really happy with that. So now what we need to do is work out, well, what's going to happen to this form when I submit it? Where's the data going to go, and how does that work? So let's go back to the editor. Within the editing, we open up the form, and now we have the area where we've got the email settings. So email settings indicate where everything's going to go. Like I want this to be emailed. Under that, I've got the message settings down here. So the message settings is what is shown after the form is submitted. Okay, that's that bit. And now there's also this section further up called Actions After Submit. So let's open up that and let's take a quick look here. So first of all, email. Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send an email. But I can also do a redirect. This would be if I want to redirect to a specific landing page. This can be handy if you're using Google Analytics or some other sort of package to show confirmation, to say, hey, I know that this form has been submitted. You can look at how many times that thank you page has been viewed, even without setting up custom events, and that's going to be really handy. I can do an auto-respond email, a database entry I can do as well. Fluent CRM, MailerLite, these are all integrations for different systems along with Webhook. So Webhook can allow you to send information to something like Zapier, or a lot of other CRM tools and things all use webhooks now. So that can be really handy as well. We're going to stick with email and database entry. So in the email settings, I want that just to go to admin. So I should be able to do something along the lines of admin email like that, with curly brackets, and that should work. And then we're going to say website contact form like that, and that will go there. Help desk, we'll say from website, from name, WordPress website, reply field. So that means that when I get this email, the email that's come through from the email field is going to be the email I would reply to. The CC and BCC field are really good because you can copy in other settings and other systems. For example, Zoho, Agile CRM, some of these kinds of platforms allow you to copy in an email so it shows up within the CRM. This means that somebody putting their name, email, everything in there, just by CCing or BCCing in that field, you end up with that email automatically going into your CRM and creating a lead. It's a very powerful feature to have. And then you've got the area that says send as HTML email or send as plain text. That's entirely up to you. Some people prefer plain text, some prefer HTML. I prefer plain text just because it's a simple plain email. So in the entry settings, we're just saying, what do you want to call this form? So we're just going to say this contact page simple form, just like that. That's all good. So we've got everything there, and I'm just going to use all the default in the message settings and click update. So let's view my page, and now we're going to actually complete the form and see if it works. Just like that, and then we click send message. Submission success. Thanks for getting in touch. Well, that's pretty good, isn't it? All right, so what happened to the entry? Where did it go? We did want to make a database entry, so let's go to the dashboard, and we're going to go all the way down to the Kadence menu on the left-hand side and click on form entries. And we can see here that I've got a couple of different items. One's from a trashed item that I had before, but here's my form ID with the date of everything that's been created. So let's view that. And here we can see this is the information that was sent, and this is the information that was captured. So I've got my IP, which is just my local IP because I'm running locally. I've got the page, again, local URL. What user was it? Because I was logged in, it's actually picked up the user and what was all submitted. So that's a really great thing to have, because this means that regardless of whether I get my email or not, my email notification, I can see that the entry has come in. Okay, so in this one, we're going to take a look at the contact page again, and now we're going to do the advanced form. So, same as with the simple form, where you go in, and the first thing we need to do is add a block, and we're going to look for form advanced. If you don't have it, just type form, and that should come up. So now we have the advanced form, and the interface is straight away a lot different. I can select a form, and you can see I can't select anything. So I need to click on the create new. From here, we've got a couple of different options of how we want our form to look. I'm just going to do the basic and basic. So I've got a layout that's basic and a style that's basic. Here, we're just putting in a title of the form, and this is the reference for elsewhere within the interface. And the description, I'm going to leave empty and click create. So straight away, we have an additional feature where you can see that we've got columns up the top here and the message. And what you'll also notice is as I click through these items, my sidebar changes. So unlike the simple form where everything was bundled in, we don't have that with the advanced form. Everything instead has its own sort of layout tools and the ability to add extra things. So we've got these messages here, and you can delete them just like that. So that's all pretty cool. And then everything has its own sort of top level styling at the form ADV. So that has style there. But if I go to the email field, for example, it doesn't have a style tab. So that's going to inherit everything from the top level form still. But I do have the advantage in that because I now have this over here and I can click on advanced, I can actually put custom CSS classes in. So if you decided you needed to do something very specific with a specific field, you do have the option to do specific CSS because you can target it via a class. We also end up with this extra tab here with conditional fields and some extra settings for the field name and populating with parameters, which is also a great thing. So from the advanced form, if we look at advanced form, we'll go through the top level settings for the form first. So first of all, we've got the name of the form. Then we have the form description, and that's used for reference only. Then we end up with our submit actions. So you can see that we've got the database entry and email here by default. If I click on the drop down, we end up with all these different integrations. Things like ActiveCampaign, auto respond email, Brevo or send in blue, ConvertKit, Fluent CRM, GetResponse, MailChimp, MailerLite, Redirect, Webhook. So these are all the integrations for a form that are available. So if I wanted to select Fluent CRM, I'd just click Fluent CRM like that. And now we end up with a setting that says Fluent CRM. And it says Fluent CRM is not set up or active. In my setup, I don't have it. So straight away, that doesn't give me any options. It would have been good if I couldn't even add it in the first place, but I guess this is just the way this works. So that's okay. Now, when I look at email settings, this is the email for the person that I'm sending this form to. So you can fill all those fields out, and very similar to the basic form or the non-advanced form. Database entry settings, same. These are all the same as the other one. And then the message settings down here, again, very similar to the simple form. So how do we add extra fields then? Well, instead you go to the form block and click on the add field, and we end up with all these different blocks of things you can add. So all these fields here are the same as what we had in the simple item. So you've got text field, email field, etc. If I go to advanced fields, we have the accept field. This field is not the same as the privacy field. I thought it was, but when I added it, it doesn't have things like the link to the privacy form. If you want to do that, you need to put that in as paragraph information, a little bit different. There is a file upload field that's completely new for the advanced form. So I can have somebody submit a file, for example. They might want to upload something, whether it's a logo or, some details with something else that you've filled out before. I have time and date selectors as well. And there's this new area called layout. So I can add row layout, dividers, and different sections within my form. And that's great for larger forms. And then there's miscellaneous. So I've got the Captcha here and the submit button. You'll notice I can't add another submit button because there's already one on the page, but I could add a Captcha. So if I click Captcha, that then gets added at the bottom of the form here. And then over at the side, we end up with the different Captcha types. And this is one of the big improvements really for the advanced form, because not only do I get the Google Captcha now, but I can also use Turnstile from Cloudflare and a thing called Captcha. I'm not familiar with Captcha, and one thing I did notice is that although you can put the API key in and force a language, there was no links to this. So it means that if you're not aware of what Captcha is, how do you go about setting up those keys? Well, I have to leave this interface and go and try and work that out. There is some style in terms of light and dark, and if I want a normal or compact on that Captcha. So that was interesting, but we'll go with the V3. And the V3 has pulled in my Captcha keys that were available from the simple form. But I notice again, those links to quickly go and jump over to the reCaptcha and add it as of this version of Kadence aren't available. So I'll click save there, and that's now added. And you'll notice that when I added this field, it was below the submit button. So if I go into my form and click on plus again, and let's say, for example, I want to add, like a select field, well, that now has added below. And although you can push it up with the up arrows, these are the same as, well, not the same, but similar to what we had with the simple form. It's something to keep in mind that you can do that. The other thing you can do, because of the way that this form is built, you can also drag and drop in the side panel to move things around where you might want them to go. So that's also pretty good. And then to remove a field, you can just click on it and delete it just like that. The other thing that is a big advantage is that when you click on a field, because they are individual blocks, the sidebar then wakes up and is hydrated with the information about that particular field. So I can be clicking on these fields and automatically the thing in the sidebar, all these field controls, they are all related to the field that I'm selecting. And that's a big improvement and reduces the amount of confusion that can happen. I'm quite happy with that one. There's also the database areas now with dynamic content. So I can choose dynamic content for a specific form. This might mean if you're putting a form in, say, some sort of custom post type, you could automatically fill out different types of fields. So if I, for example, had some hidden fields, and I decided, I'm submitting some information on a specific entry. Let's say it's a real estate entry, and I want a real estate reference ID. I could go to that hidden field, select the item, say yes, enable dynamic content, and then choose what it is that I wanted to do there. So I could really say, post ID, or some other custom field with meta relationships or something like that. So I'm going to use post custom field, custom input there, or I could say, show fields from all post types, and then all of a sudden I get all these custom fields here. So this is really powerful and a little bit too deep for this overview today, but you get the idea that you can do some pretty amazing things with the advanced form. So let's just click update, and what you'll notice now when I click update is I end up with these two options here. What's going on? Well, I'm editing the contact page, so I'm going to have to update that. But there's actually a post now for the forms called the contact form. And this is contact form ADV. That's what we called it when we created it. So let's click save. That's saved, and let's view the page. So first of all, what do we have? Well, we've got our basic settings. If I turn on dark mode, everything works the same as it did before. So that's all very similar. But what happened to this form? Where is it? Why does it update in two areas? Well, if I go into the dashboard, go to Kadence and click Forms, now I have the ability to edit this form in one place. So if I open that from here, I end up with my form editor. Got my name, email, message, everything the way it was. And if I open that up, I end up... So let's open the list view and we'll have a look. There's my advanced form. And when I've selected it, I've got everything over at the sidebar here again. So I can fill out my email settings, database settings, all those sorts of things. And in advance, there's also the analytics setting. So I can turn that on, click update, and now this form will begin to gather analytics about how many times it's been viewed, where it's been viewed, and how many people converted. So a really handy thing to have. And this is all stored directly within WordPress without the need to use a third-party analytics package. So it's really good for privacy as well. So inside of here, we now have all our different fields. Now, if I update this here, everywhere on every page that it's embedded, it will also be updated. And this makes it much easier to globally control forms, particularly when it comes to email opt-ins or anything like that. You may end up wanting to have the one form in many different places. Then if you want to update it, let's say, for example, you've moved from MailChimp to Fluent CRM or something along those lines, you can update it once here. It updates everywhere else on the website without you having to go around, find everywhere where the form was embedded and go and edit it. So a great feature for the advanced forms there. So within the form area, because I've now turned on analytics, you get the view analytics button, and this will show us the information about analytics. If I click view, there's nothing there right now, but you would get views and submissions over the last 30 or 90 or 7 days, and all of that's stored within this particular panel. So again, an excellent feature that is only available on the advanced forms. Form entries, works exactly the same as the simple form, so you get all the contact entries go inside of here. The other major feature that we get with the advanced fields is the ability to do conditionals. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So from here, we're going to add before. I'm just going to do a select, and then within select, we're going to say business or individual. Okay, so now I've got what type of inquiry is this with business and individual. Okay, so I'm going to say required, and that means somebody's going to select business or individual. And then we're going to say enable conditional field. No, we don't do that yet. We're going to make this field, another field, depend on this for conditions. So I don't want to do that. We just want to have a general select drop down there. So then underneath, we're going to add another text field, and this is going to be company name, just like that. And this here will be required. And over in conditional on this one, I'm going to say enable condition and say show when what type of inquiry is this is equal to business, just like that. So now we have a rule that says that company name will be required when somebody has filled out that contact form and said that they're a business. All right, so now let's go ahead. We'll take a look at our site, go to the contact page, and we can see I didn't edit the contact page. We just edited the form, but the field is updated. And now when I say individual, you can see how that field disappears. So again, excellent way of being able to control what's being shown there. Name, email, message, that's all being connected up. So when you submit this form, It works exactly the same way as a simple one, but now we have the ability to add conditional smart forms that give us a lot more different options. So as you can see with the advanced forms, there's a whole bunch of advanced features you can do. So go through, dig around, see what you find. We're going to be doing a series of other smaller tutorials on this, so keep an eye out on the channel if you're interested in those. So there are a couple of limitations to keep in mind when it comes to your Kadence forms. The first one that I want to talk about really is payments. All right, so if you've come from something like Gravity Forms or Fluent Forms, these are very powerful forms. They're dedicated plugins for WordPress, and they still have a place when it comes to payments. I'm yet to find anyone providing payments that doesn't have a jQuery dependency. If you know of one, let me know below. But as of this video, Kadence Forms doesn't have payments. There's also a couple of things around custom fields and other types of integrations. So although we have the webhook with Kadence Forms, building your own integrations and extending their PHP libraries is not possible at this time. The third limitation that I wanted to cover is around the versions of PHP. Now, Kadence Blocks works really great on PHP 8.2 right now, but it does start showing deprecation errors. And that means when PHP 8.3 comes around, if the Kadence code stays the way it is, it's not going to be compatible. There's a few fundamental issues with the way it's being coded that mean that it's going to struggle to be extended, and it needs a bit of an update to be able to support PHP 8.3. So just keep that in mind before you choose to use Kadence Forms. They are great. They're going to work really well for contact forms and lead forms going to CRMs and things like that. But when it comes to payments, custom post type integration and some of these things, I'd probably be looking at one of the more robust dedicated solutions at the time of this recording. Well, I hope you liked that video and how we've covered off the basics of Kadence Forms and Kadence Forms Advanced Blocks. If you want to know more about Kadence, by all means, take a look at our playlists. We've got plenty of content on Kadence Theme and Kadence Blocks. If there's something that you want to know specifically that you haven't found covered anywhere else, why don't you leave a comment below, let me know, and I'll make a video about it. And of course, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I share content like this all the time, and I've had 20 years of experience building websites. So if you want to know more about anything to do with websites, do let me know. I look forward to making more videos, and I'll see you in the next one.